No, that's okay. Yes.
Mics are hot and active. Welcome, everyone. We will now call this meeting to order. The vice chair will be stepping in as the acting secretary. Member Comonique, will you take attendance?
Yes. Joseph Adams,
Present.
Kelly Johnson,
Present.
Luella Webster,
Present.
Cheryl Ash, Donna McMahon,
Present.
Sharia Williams, Dennis Givens, Claire Davis, Otis Davis. Comonique Thomas, present.
Uh, just for the record, the secretary is excused. I am going to share the load with you, member vice chair. I will have now asked you to read the minutes of the last meeting. But instead, I am going to ask if anyone, if any of the members want me to read the minutes. And if not, we will proceed. So I'm going to do a without objection vote. Without objection, uh, I'm going to proceed without reading the minutes for the last meeting, specifically because we're dealing with two. Specifically, the Thursday, February 20th, 2025. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So without objection, let me give member Cheryl uh 30 seconds. So there are no objections. We're going to move forward and go ahead and approve those minutes. Just to make sure, were you all aware that that no objection vote was for approving the minutes?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Is there any correspondence? Have we gotten any mail? Anything pressing that needs attention? Just, okay, so just signing the notes. Counselor, do we need to, approve the minutes from the special meeting?
Does that, tell me which, so are you, is it the meeting where we failed to have a quorum?
The special one that we,
Where we were training, I thought that was a training meeting.
Oh, no, that was not a meeting. That
Right, it
was,
was training.
no, that's not necessary.
okay. Okay,
March 27th meeting. That one we did have a quorum.
yeah, the special meeting where we had a quorum.
I'm sorry, I'm thinking of something else.
Yeah, no.
Yes, please do, with respect to, that meeting, I think that you could follow the same procedure, you call for either a vote, a motion to approve with a second, or as you did previously.
You're talking about the special meeting, right?
This one right here, the March 27th.
Where we, is that the one where we trained?
This was the one where we, I think it was a lot of stuff going on. The resolution on electronic participation.
Oh, yes, you should.
review of the bylaws, all of that type of stuff,
There
yeah.
were no meetings from that or no minutes from that special meeting, so, or from the, training meeting, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that what I mean.
Yeah.
But you're talking about the meeting,
So, yeah,
I'm sorry, that we rescheduled for the purposes of passing the bylaws and the electronic meeting policy. That was a meeting with a quorum and we did official business, so
March 27th, yes.
please do, President Adams, thank you for asking and for everyone's help clarifying. Please do pass those minutes.
Okay. I am going to move that the special meeting minutes for March 27th, 2025 be accepted. Whenever I move for something, you have the option to second it. You also do not have to do that. But any one of you can second a move.
Second.
We have a second. In keeping with this, is there any discussion necessary? Any corrections, additions to the special meeting minutes, March 27th, 6 p.m.? Since I see none, call for a aye vote. All of those in favor indicate just by saying aye. All of those opposed indicate by saying no. The ayes have it. I'm now going to, thank you, Director. I'm now going to yield the floor for only 30 seconds to our council to give a message to those that may be attending online and wanting to, and those here wanting to participate.
Thank you, Dr. Adams. We welcome public comment. It would be the final item on our agenda. 3 minutes per speaker. We ask that you please sign up ahead of time. Comments, please, limited to police review board business and community oversight topics. No board member is obligated to respond to public comment. It's a listening session, really. If you do wish to make comments this evening, if you're here in person, at the table to my right is a sign-up sheet. If you are attending remotely, I believe there's a chat function where you can leave your name and address and be recognized at the end of the meeting. Thank you for your time, Dr. Adams, and we invite anybody interested to participate. Please, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Today is a good day. This board will tend to the business for which it was established. And with that being said, we will now open the floor to the director.
Thank you, Dr. Adams. I'm going to jump right into our summaries from 2024. The first two summaries, we're going to bypass those because there is a conflict of interest there. And we're going to go straight to CPRB 1014.
Events.
Mhm.
What was the conflict of interest?
It is involving someone that we direct report to, and that's both the review office and the board. Yep.
How are we gonna help a person get what they think they need to get justice?
We will still have the mechanism of the police department doing their internal review. So it would be similar to what they had before this board was instituted, but I hope this won't come up again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just one point of order, with all due respect to all of the members, we're going to let the director go in uninterrupted, and then we'll tear them apart.
Well, thank you. All right.
Can I ask a question about each case?
Yeah, he's going to give his presentation first, and then we'll be able to go back and forth with him.
And Ms. Cheryl, I didn't say this, but counsel helped me remember, is they could also file a lawsuit too. They do have a legal route to go. All right, so CPRB 1014 is alleged racial bias policing. It happened January of 2024. And the outcome that came from the South Bend Police Department was sustained. And this one is based on courtesy and performance. So it was sustained, but not sustained based on racial bias policing. The allegations, I'll read the allegation summary, is complainant stated that officers were dismissive, did not provide an apparent reason for a traffic stop, and that the officer's tone was aggressive and racially intensive. And the investigative findings prove this. Body cam footage showed the complainant was non-compliant with the field sobriety test and was proven to be intoxicated. However, the officer's communication was unclear and dismissive. While there was no evidence of racial bias, performance concerns noted. The relevant South Bend police policies are policy 104, bias-based policing. That information has been provided in your packet. And South Bend Police Policy 339 for courtesy and professionalism. And that information has been provided. The evidence that I reviewed, I talked to the actual complainant, and I reviewed the body-worn camera footage from the South Bend Police Department, and I reviewed the internal affairs report, and that's how we were able to compile this information. So I provided to the board, which is privy to you, a summary statement and my recommendation.
Point of order, Director, this is, you said, CPRB 1014.
Yes.
That's what we were just
1014.
doing.
Yes, sir.
10-4-10.
1014. Are there any questions for me? Oh, yes.
I had a question.
Okay.
What did I didn't get a chance. I know you probably, because I emailed you questions, and I know you probably sent me the answer, but I have not been near a computer.
Okay.
What did the officer say that the person thought was not courteous or offensive?
Well, without me saying exactly what this officer said, I can express to you the tone. Okay. At least it was a good ringtone.
No, I want you to say what the
Yeah.
exact words that were said.
I cannot do that, but I
Can you write
can't,
them down?
I cannot.
Why?
Because that would be disclosing his information and it's part of an investigation through the South Bend Police Department. And I cannot disclose exact wording in that way, but I can tell you what I saw in his tone.
Can you summarize it without revealing his
That's-
information?
That I can do. So what happened and what I saw in this video was the officer asked several times for the complainant to adhere to a sobriety test multiple times. I'd say 5 times or more. And he got a little frustrated and his tone was a little short. And this would be the officer,
The officer got a little frustrated.
got a little frustrated. Tone may have gotten a little shorter than it should have. And in the complainant's eyes, that was dismissive. And everybody has a right to their own opinion and, concepts, but the complainant felt that it was racial profiling.
But he was intoxicated and his actions toward the officer indicated that.
Yes, the complainant was intoxicated and the actions showed that very clearly.
The, you may be recognized, Counselor.
Thank you. Mr. King, what our board has to vote on is whether we agree or disagree with the conclusion of the internal affairs investigation. When you present these summaries, could you tell us what the conclusion was so that our board knows precisely what it is they're being asked to vote on? Because if I follow your summary correctly, in this instance, internal affairs sustained this complaint, meaning in other words, it found by a preponderance of evidence that there was merit to the complaint. And then it recommended that the officer engage in further training. Have I said that correctly?
Yes, you have.
So I think it would help our board if, when you present these, you conclude with, before you open up to questions, you conclude with, this was the decision of internal affairs. You will be asked when you're finished with your questions whether you agree or disagree. And also, you are doing your concurrent investigation, if you could tell us if your office agreed with internal affairs. I don't mean to interrupt the meeting. I just think it'll help frame our decision-making if each board member knows what they're being asked to vote on. In this instance, for example, is, do we agree with internal affairs that there was merit to this complaint? Fair enough? Do you follow me?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, Pastor King.
So,
Dr. Adams.
and I'll go back to this again because maybe I didn't clarify it. But the South Bend Police Department outcome was sustained, and it was based on courtesy and performance. So the South Bend Police Department did acknowledge that some of these answers or questions were a little short, and his performance could have been better. So without going into specific details, I can tell you, I agree with that. I agree that that could have been better. The tone should have been better, and performance could be better.
S- Two things the chair needs to, okay, so I'm thinking, and I kind of want you all to tell me what you would like. I'm thinking let the director get through these. I think like 5. Okay, so yeah, still doing them one at a time, but get through 5 of them. Then we vote on each one. Or would you all like to keep it one at a time? And like, so for example, my next order of business could be to call for the agree or disagree vote. So let them get through it or keep it one at a time. What are you all thinking?
That we're all talking about the same.
No, that's good. We got a one at a time, and we got to let them get through it. We got another one at a time. Okay, all right, we're gonna do one at a time. Okay. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to invite the counselor to explain what the standard is. Okay, and he's going to say something that we will take to heart, and then we'll have a vote. Okay. But counselor, before you do that, okay, it's related to what we're talking about right now? Okay, no problem. I'm going to come back to the case. Before you do that, one of our members asked the director for something, and the director responded with his inability to provide that. As we've been making it very clear, the chair's stance is any denied request must be backed up with the actual rule and regulation so that we can turn that over, compile that information and turn that over to the council over how we're not able to do the job that they've given us to do. So could you make a note that we need that as soon as possible? So the floor is still the directors, and Member Cheryl, you have a question. I also want to say that I have a split mind on this because once we do the vote, there's time for discussion. So I'm just trying to see how things flow to figure out what exactly we're going to do. So, don't fall in love with any method just yet. Okay, but Member Cheryl, you have the floor.
Cuss words used.
No, no cuss words. Just
Word-
very short.
Words that were derogatory used, like you're stupid or whatever.
No, not to that effect. Very short, little frustration. And understandably in this case, but it still was something that was considered to be sustained.
So the officer never physically touched him.
No, there was no physical contact and there was no racial bias that I could see from watching these body cams.
Well, if the floor is yielded back, we'll now give a moment to our counselor to instruct us on the standard.
Thank you, President Adams. You are viewing the bottom line conclusion of law enforcement, which in this instance is sustained, meaning that law enforcement found that there was sufficient evidence to prove the allegations by a preponderance of evidence. Preponderance of evidence is in the Supreme Court of Indiana's phrasing, it means the greater weight of the evidence. Sometimes you hear it said in court, in civil context, it means more likely than not. It's not the same as beyond a reasonable doubt. It is more of a 51-49. The phraseology that turns up in the Supreme Court of Indiana's decisions, as well as lower courts, is greater weight of the evidence. So in a practical sense, as you consider CPRB 1014, the conclusion is sustained, meaning that Internal Affairs, in a decision that Pastor King supports, found that the greater weight of the evidence demonstrated that the allegations in the complaint were proven. So you're not proving, you're not in a situation where it must be proven like in a criminal court beyond a reasonable doubt. It's the greater weight of the evidence. It's a lower standard. Essentially, it means it's more likely than not that things happen the way, in this instance, the complaining party said they did. With the, I suppose, condition here that it was sustained in part because there was no, as Pastor King reports, there's no overt evidence of racial bias. However, Internal Affairs, presumably looking at this, determined that by the greater weight of the evidence, the allegations were more likely true than not. So those are, those are sort of ways of describing it by analogy, more likely than not, greater weight of the evidence, 51% to 49. I think more likely than not, it's probably the way I most frequently think about it. So in this sense, the finding would have been it is more likely than not true that the allegations made by the complaining party were true. And if you'll forgive me, one more addition, your task at this stage is to decide, do you agree with that conclusion drawn by Internal Affairs that it was more likely true than not true that there were merits to these allegations, or rather that these allegations were more likely true than not? Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. One last thing, Counselor. Word the motion for me.
I don't know if you necessarily, President Adams, need a motion here. I think the language of the ordinance, and I'll read it to you, says that after an investigation is returned to the review office, the review board shall review the investigation and the action taken or recommended by the chief, which is what we have just done. We've conducted a review. We've been presented with the conclusion of the chief through Pastor King. And it goes on to say, if the review board does not agree or disagrees, then you have additional options that require a notice to the interested parties first. So essentially what the ordinance is calling for is a vote on agree or disagree. I don't think you have to move to say, do we adopt this finding? I think you can take a voice vote, put the vote as agree or disagree, and then allow each member to vote.
We will take a vote to agree or disagree. We will allow each member to vote. Unless there's any objections, because we can also do it silently. Okay. Vice Chair, Acting Secretary.
You ready to call a vote? Dr. Joseph Adams,
Agree.
Korea, Kelly Johnson,
Agree.
Luella Webster,
Agree.
Cheryl Ash,
Agree.
Donna McMahon,
Agree.
Monique Thomas, agree.
We'll yield 30 seconds to the counselor to let us know the implications of what we done. And after that, we'll go back to the director.
Thank you, Dr. Adams. Well, in practical effect, you have rendered your final disposition, which is to agree with the findings of law enforcement that the complaint was sustained. That is a final disposition. The disposition will now be reported to amongst, the Common Council, the Mayor's Office, the Board of Public Safety, and the complaining party in the next 10 days. So that complaint is final. You've reached your final disposition. This instance, your vote is aligned with the conclusion of law enforcement, which is to sustain the complaint. I believe, forgive me if I misspeak, but Pastor King, may I ask you, are you the party who responsible for the notice of the disposition?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So your disposition on 10/14 is final. It'll be announced to the interested parties through the review office.
Okay, so quick board business before we give it back to the director. So do you want to wait for discussion after we do the we're not doing a motion. Okay, so that just made the decision for me. We'll stay in that format. Because there's no motion in a second for the agree, disagree vote, because there is no motion, there is no opening up for discussion. So we'll continue to let the director speak, then go into some question and answers, and then go into the agree, disagree. Everybody good with that? Okay. The floor is yielded to the director.
All right, we're going to case CPRB 1016, which is use of force. This was in July of 2024 in South Bend, Indiana. The South Bend Police Department outcome was exonerated. Okay, here's the allegation summary. The complainant alleged excessive force during an arrest despite full compliance with the officer's commands, claimed unnecessary restraint and injury. Here are the investigative findings. After reviewing the footage and the sobriety results, it confirmed that the complainant was over the legal alcohol limit and drove a vehicle into a wall. The officer offered medical aid, which was initially declined and later accepted. Once the complainant was arrested, the need for medical attention was requested and provided. The force was used at a minimal and consistent with training protocols. The relevant South Bend police policies are policy 401 and policy 339, which I have provided for the board. The evidence reviewed was body-worn camera footage, the internal affairs investigative file, the complainant statement, which I met with the complainant at least 3 times, witness statement, the civilian medical records, and the hospital video footage. So on my end, you can see my summary statement there. There's no evidence that does not support what the South Bend Police Department came up with, and that is exonerated. And I'll open it to questions.
What is the complainant's current disposition?
The complainant,
His current disposition. How did he feel after the results of internal affairs?
I don't know how Internal Affairs expressed that to him and what his concerns were, but I have released information and let this complainant know that the board would be reviewing this and that I would get back to this person after we come to a adjudication. So I'm not sure how it went with the Internal Affairs side of things, but this complainant is waiting on waiting on me to reply back to him.
Counselor, I think there's something missing. Um, and I think what's missing is the opportunity for the complainant to rebuttal the findings. To say, yes, but you didn't consider this. Or you looked at that, but not this. But that's my thought. The reason I called you is because I would like to know what to do with that thought.
Thank you. There's a few things we should consider. One is I guess, what type of support does any action by this board require? There are 5 of us attending this meeting. And if I refer you to section 14 of our enabling board, 5 members must vote in favor of any item where any action or disposition can be taken. So we have a numbers issue here, that if there is a if we cannot reach in effect a unanimous decision because we only have 5 of us tonight, then
6.
Or 6 of us.
oh, I'm sorry. Remember, Ash, I wrote you down, but I wrote down 5 when we started the meeting. Okay, so it's worth bearing in mind anyway that we need 5 affirmative votes to do something. Now, one option is that if 5 members at least of the board vote to disagree with Internal Affairs conclusion, you then have the options of potentially voting for a further investigation, an informal hearing, or an informal mediation. We have to notify the officers involved before we do that. So one, I guess procedurally, if at least 5 members voted to disagree with this conclusion, we would have to give notice to the officers involved that we disagreed with law enforcement's conclusion. Then we could bring this complaint back at our next meeting to vote on effectively our next step. What I'm hearing, and I'm not presuming to know your decision, but that if there were a complaint in which the 5 of the board members thought a further investigation would be useful, that is an option that for which the board can vote. It does require first a finding by 5 at least of a disagreement with this decision. So if there were, and not leaving aside this particular complaint, if there were any instance in which the board thought we cannot agree with this decision because we do not have enough information to agree, you can vote disagree. give notice to law enforcement that there has been a disagreement, and then at your next meeting, revisit this under old business, and then take a vote on, since we've disagreed, how do we want to follow up? We disagreed because we want Pastor King to do a further investigation, or we disagreed because we want to
Okay.
hold a hearing, or we disagreed because we think we want to have mediation. So in terms of our powers, your powers as a board, I think that the
Gotcha.
vehicle for obtaining more information is a vote to disagree. Step 2, provide notice to law enforcement that there has been a vote of disagreement. And then step 3, revisit this complaint as an unresolved open complaint in which the board has to vote for its next order of business. And that it would be, of those 3 options, a further investigation, a hearing, or a mediation.
Um, I, I, I would like to know what you all thinking as far as, I think this summary is missing the complainant's response to the conclusion of the internal affairs investigation.
Can I add? So internal affairs, they are mandated to call each one of these complainants. The complainant was contacted. So that part is concrete. The complainant was contacted, and the complainant has all legal rights to file, a lawsuit or take it to the next level if they want to go there. This complainant has not done so, but there was thorough follow through from the police department. I can tell you that much. Now, I can't tell you what all the details are behind that, but I know that's the procedure, and I know they followed that through. Um, and like Dr. Adams, after being on our previous CPRB national meeting, not a lot of boards get the access to the information that we readily can get. So there's quite a bit in here. If there's any questions or holes that you see that you want answered, I'm open to answer them. I've watched this video so many times, I almost know it. So if there's something that you want to, I've been to the scene, I took photos, I was there the next day after this happened. If there's any questions, I'm open.
The chair is ready to proceed. The question that I am proposing, or what I'm putting before the board, is would it be, could we do our job more effectively with more wisdom if we knew the response of the complainant to the decision? Because what if it could be anything? It could be, yeah, y'all right. I saw the video too. you know, so I'm good. Or it could be, I disagree. And I want to be able to ask the director, what was the disposition of the complainant? So I guess I'm presenting it before the board because am I the only one that wants this? Is this something we all want? And if so, maybe route it further. But I'm asking you all.
The only thing for me is, the alleged summary. And the complaint says that the person failed to listen to both sides during the domestic dispute.
That's
What did he?
that's the wrong
okay,
one.
What did he want documented? Because it was a written document that happened, right?
That's the wrong complaint. We're on 1016. 1016, I'm
We
sorry.
on 1016. 1016.
Oh, I'm sorry, I got the wrong one.
But the
Yeah, I
cons-
guess what I want to
Go ahead.
try to figure out is, sometimes I wish I knew what the complainant considered excessive force. No, did he consider excessive force because just what did he consider excessive force was?
And this would be good questions for me because I can tell you. Yeah. So if you're asking what excessive force is, it would be force that's not adequate for
No, no,
the,
no, I
oh,
don't mean that. I mean, what did the complainant think was excessive force? What did he consider? Did the man touch him on the shoulder, the officer? Did
well,
the officer get in front of him and he
I can
thought it
answer.
was too close? What did the complainant think was excessive force?
I can answer that for you. So the complainant was given a command to respond to the officer and remove himself from the car, the complaint's vehicle. Did not adhere and was given that same command at least 3 times. Still did not adhere, and then was forcibly removed from the vehicle. So that's how the complainant alleges that there was excessive force, but it wasn't. It was a clear command.
For me in the future, when someone says excessive force, it would be a help if you could say to the complainant, well, describe the excessive force.
Mhm.
You know, when he took you out of the car, did he grab you by the neck to take you out? Or did he grab you by the shoulder or the arm? That's what I guess I'm saying is,
And I can
That-
tell you, he did not use any unwarranted force.
no, I'm not saying to you, I'm saying,
No, the officer.
no, I'm saying I want to know what the complainant thought was
Right.
excessive force. In his report or when you interviewed him, did he say anything like, well, he grabbed my sleeve? I'm
Mm.
sorry, he grabbed my sleeve and drugged me out, or he grabbed my arm. That's my problem. I need to know what the complainant thought was excessive force.
I can tell you what the complainant said in
Uh-huh.
the statement is that they didn't feel like they could get out of the car. So when you get 3 commands to get out of the car and you don't respond to a sworn police officer, it is now this police officer's job to remove you from that car because you could go hurt somebody or take off or kill somebody potentially. So that's what occurred. He removed that person from the police car
How did he remove it?
as a standard police removal.
I don't
Yeah,
understand.
so he grabbed him out the car, picked him up
Where did
and
he grab him?
by his arms and held him right where he needed to. You know, there was no excessive force in the sense of he grabbed him or beat him up or anything. He didn't do that. Yeah.
What if, did, did the officer give consideration that he could have been physically hurt from running into that building before he proceeded to take, even though he gave him the command a couple times, he could have been in a state where he could not have gotten out the car.
It was let me, because I can help you see this picture really clear. There were 2 people in the vehicle, and both of them were able to talk to the officer and receive commands and say yes or no. And they were asked initially, do you want medical attention? And the complainant said no. Upon arresting the complainant, then the complainant asked for medical attention and it was given. So as far as illegal procedures like a chokehold or grabbed him around his neck or, something to that effect, none of that was seen in the video.
So once he was restrained, um, did he continue to resist the officer?
He didn't resist at all. No, he didn't resist at all.
So, board, I'm asking you, do you think that it's necessary to have an update from from the complainant or hear from the complainant before we vote?
Change what occurred in the past. Would help me would be more detail in the summary. You know, it would have been nice to know that he was forcibly removed from the vehicle and the use of restraint occurred. Was that handcuffs or was he thrown on the ground and held down? How was he restrained? What use of restraint was there? He was detained. What did that mean? He was just sat on the curb and held there? Does that mean he was sat on? I mean, just some additional details would really help when making decisions in this case.
And so in the absence of hearing from the complainant, we are relying on the director for those details.
Mhm.
So we pretty much, we want something. We want some more information.
Yes.
But if we don't get it from the complainant, then we are relying upon the director to give it to us.
I guess, like I said before, would like to know how he got him out of the car where the director just told me he put his arms on and kind of lifted him out.
Mhm.
Okay. When he told him, get out of the car, how much time was between the first get out of the car and the second get out of the car and the third get out of the car? And the reason I ask that is, I've been in accidents, okay? And I might be able to talk to the policeman and everything, but I'm still kind of like slow moving.
You're stunned. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still slow moving. So now if the guy took 5 minutes between each time, that makes a difference to me than whether it was, I need you to get out of the car, 5 or 10 seconds pass. And he says, again, I need you to get out of the car, and 5 seconds pass. And then on the third, get out of the car. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I can speak to it. So I'm not gonna, if the police officer was wrong, I would tell you he's wrong. I don't care if they like me, if they don't like me. That's why I took this job, is to tell truth and stand on truth, 10 toes totally down on the ground. So I wouldn't care if the officer was mad and wanted to, harm me. I'm gonna tell you the truth. And I know that's not the case. This officer arrested this gentleman with dignity and with respect. This person was clearly intoxicated to the point where, a response may not have even,
Impossible.
yeah.
Okay.
So you don't want this person getting in the car and pulling off at that point. You want to make sure that this is neutralized. And I think the officer handled himself in a right and a proper manner. So, and he did give time in between, because while he was talking to the person, he was trying to figure out if he's going to call a medic or get a police officer or another officer on the scene. Officers have groups, they work in tandem. So there was time in between. This was not a rushed, faulty procedure. Everything was handled as it should have been.
Another thing I would like to know for the future, and some of this I think is helping you know what information to include.
Yes.
I'd like to know what his, was he 1 point over the legal limit?
He was,
Was he,
oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to answer before you finished. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
that's what I'm saying
Yeah.
is, for me, that would make, you can be legally drunk.
Yeah.
But you can still function for people who are maybe 1 over or something like that.
He was nearly
That would be
double.
something good include in the future. What was the limit that he blew at?
He was nearly, this person complaining was nearly double the limit. Yeah.
So, and I'm speaking for myself, I do not know what the limit is.
Right.
So is there at some point, could the board have information on what the limit is? So
Yeah.
when you say he was double the limit, I would know that the limit was 1.8 or something, and he was double that.
Yes, and I can share some of that stuff with you all. Now that this board is fully functioning, we can share that in a session. I can get the, some of the information and disclose it to you. I think that would be wise at this point to start sharing that.
I think it would be extremely helpful. I mean, to expect for us to be able to make a decision after seeing 3 lines,
Mhm.
that's not
Right.
what we need. I
Right.
mean, all of those, you have great details. You have a lot of information. You've like firsthand knowledge.
Mhm.
And sharing some of that, what you can share, would be extremely helpful.
Yes, I agree. So I'll do the best that I can to share as much information as I can without breaking any, laws or anything of that nature. But I want to make sure that while you have me here, that I can answer any question, because that's why they have the adjudicators and they have the office, because I can tell you what I've seen.
Appreciate that.
The chair recognizes that this process will heavily rely on the director, probably as it was intended, and the future investigator. Um, the board should keep an eye. The board should keep an eye out on the agreement between the director and internal affairs. We're not on a witch hunt, but we have a responsibility, and we need some ways to measure how well, we're giving people a voice. With that being said, the chair recognizes that this complaint has been presented, it's been exonerated, and the director's office agrees, correct?
That's correct.
And so now the chair will conduct a agree or disagree vote. If we get five disagrees,
Dr. Adams is correct. Your vote at this stage is one of two choices. You agree with the finding of exoneration, or you disagree.
well,
If you disagree with the finding of exoneration, then you have 3 additional options. Asking Pastor King, you have a doctorate though. don't you?
I did, man.
Asking Pastor King to conduct a further investigation, conducting an administrative hearing, or asking Pastor King to lead a mediation session, attempt at reconciliation between the complaining party and the officers. Those options present themselves to you only if you first disagree with law enforcement's conclusion. And there is an additional obligation to give notice to the law enforcement officers involved. So procedurally speaking, if there were at least five votes to disagree with this, then I would recommend to the board chair that.
point of order, is that actually correct? I know I just said that the five disagrees, because what if there's three disagrees to two agrees?
Well, this comes from section 14 of the enabling ordinance. 5 members of the review board shall constitute a quorum for purposes of conducting business and 5 members must vote in favor of any item before any action or disposition can be taken.
So that's in favor.
So at this stage, we are in the disposition stage. So we would need, just like you just saw where we had 6 agreements, which resulted in a final disposition on CPRB 1014, with respect to this complaint, if there are at least 5 votes to disagree, you now open up the option of asking for a further investigation.
Point of
However-
order, where if there's 3 disagrees, because then we won't have the 5 agrees.
We don't have a disposition. And what I'm uncertain of as we sit here today is, does the complaint fail for lack of a disposition, or can it be considered at a different board meeting? If that's not something I could answer based on, as I sit here right now.
Yeah, you have time.
Although we do have Corporation Council President, that has crossed my mind, is if we do not have any disposition, then what happens to the? I'm open to all viewpoints on this. It's not something I could answer sitting here today, other than to say, digitally speaking, we would not have a disposition.
Well, we'll take a vote and deal with it. Because I certainly understand the 5 agreements. That's what it says, but the disagreements, not so much. Vice Chair, Acting Secretary.
Ms. Cheryl Ash,
Call me first.
Dr. Joseph Adams,
Agree.
Ms. Kelly Johnson,
Agree.
Ms. Luella Webster,
Agree.
Ms. Cheryl Ash, Ms. Donna McMahon,
Agree.
Monique Thomas, agree.
There we have it. Director, you have the floor.
Okay. We're moving on to case CPRB 1019. This was procedural misconduct or alleged procedural misconduct from September 2024 in South Bend, Indiana. The South Bend Police Department outcome is unfounded. The allegation summary. The complaint alleged officers failed to listen to both parties during a domestic dispute and caused the confusion and emotional distress. Investigative findings. Footage showed that the complainant escalated the situation. I've got a typo there. Escalated the situation. An independent video from a neighbor confirmed that the other involved party was attempting to de-escalate. Officers followed standard protocol. The relevant policies from the South Bend Police Department manual are policy 334, report preparation, and policy 401, bias-based policing. The evidence that was reviewed was the body-worn camera footage, the internal affairs findings, the neighbor surveillance video footage, and the complainant and civilian witness statements. So I did get a chance to make it to this area where this incident happened, and I was able to talk to people in that neighborhood. So I didn't get the chance to see that video from the person in the neighborhood, but the South Bend Police Department did submit that video to me to review.
Counselor has the floor.
Pastor King, you say the law enforcement's decision is unfounded. Would that be the equivalent of not sustained?
Yes.
And I ask that because the 4 options in the enabling ordinance are not sustained, exonerated or withdrawn.
Yes, you're right.
So
Not sustained.
unfounded in this is a synonym for meaning that under that 51-49% analysis, the greater weight of the evidence was the complaint was more likely not correct than correct. Have I restated that fairly?
Yes, you have.
So when our board is asked to vote, they're being asked to vote on a not sustained conclusion by law enforcement. Is
That's
that
right. That is
Okay.
right.
Thank you, Dr. Adams.
Members, you have the floor. Go ahead.
I'm confused. And here's why I'm confused. The gentleman says that, or the woman, could be a woman, I'm being prejudiced here, that the officer didn't listen to him or her. But then the policy thing is a written report, 334. Okay, so I don't understand how 334 has anything to do with the above complaint, because that's all during the time of the incident. Was the person also complaining when he saw the, or she saw the report, that stuff was left out? You understand?
Yeah, the complainant
Do
is,
me a favor, pull the mic a little
Okay.
closer to you.
the complainant is complaining about procedural misconduct, which is stuff was missing in the police report. Information that they provided or wanted provided was missing, in their opinion.
So information was missing in the report.
Mhm.
And that's really their complaint?
That's the big portion of the complaint. Yeah. So the complainant is, and I can summarize this a little differently. The complainant alleged the officer failed to listen to both parties, both the complainant and the other party that was there. But after I reviewed the footage, and I know the officer reviewed this video footage on site, that's why the complainant's information was kind of, it was used, but it wasn't enough to stop and say, hey, you both are at fault here, or you're both wrong or both right. He was the aggressor. The complainant was the aggressor in this situation. So as soon as you see the video, you see the complainant rushing the person that is the other bystander. So that's the issue with this complaint.
So what does this have to do with a written report?
So the complainant felt that the report should have been in his favor or the complainant's favor, but it wasn't because the complainant was the aggressor. Yes,
Did the report describe what was in the video?
it did. It supplied the information from the video, and the body cam information was there too. This was not, I think sometimes in the heat of the moment, when you're complainant, you could probably feel and sense things to be a certain way. But when you look at it with legal eyes or policing eyes and you see it from that side of it, some of the things that you feel or may think should have happened are not credible.
Did complaint tell you what they thought was left out of the written report?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I sat through 2 or 3 meetings of information that they thought should have been provided. But I also sat through several sessions of watching this video too. So when you watch the video and you're seeing how this went down, the report that was provided was 100% accurate. Yeah.
What did complainant think was left out, that he wanted in, or her in? I gotta quit saying he, it's not always men.
Yeah, I know. I'm fighting with that too, Miss Cheryl. So don't feel bad. It's our first time. So I can tell you this: the complainant, when you feel like you've been wrong, they want you to say they're right. They want you to say I wasn't the aggressor, or they may want you to say, you know, this is somebody else's fault. But you cannot force an officer to report something that's not there to report.
He or she never said, I thought the officer left out this, this.
Yes,
Did the complainant do that?
yes, the complainant did do that.
So did the video that you saw, the other party, did it show the other party trying to
Yeah,
escalate this? And
yeah. I counted the steps backwards. So the other person took at least 20 steps backwards trying to get away from this person that filed this complaint.
Was the other person saying bad stuff or cussing at the guy or her?
Now, that portion of it, I don't have 100% knowledge of all of their audio because Ring cameras only pick up so much. Now, the body camera footage picks up audio. So I could hear some audio there. They both were blaring out quite a bit. It was not a nice conversation on either side, but it does get to a point where you have to, as adults, you have to choose, am I going to let this person cuss me out and go to jail, or am I gonna de-escalate this? Yeah.
But if we ever run into a case like this again,
Mhm.
I would like the complainant to list. You know, I think the officer should have said blah, blah, blah in the report, and I think the officer should have said this or that. So like when we run against something like that, I want the complainant to give specific examples. You know, not just that he failed to listen to both parties and blah, 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 but examples. So that makes it easier for me. I mean, I know I've been like in a car accident, and I think the officer left out some important things that showed it was the other person's fault. You know what I'm saying? And you don't get the report until afterwards. So then you've got to go back and there's a whole lot of work to do to say that you disagree with the officer's report. So just, I think from now on, if we can get the complainants to talk more.
Mhm.
Example is example. If you want to make a complaint, okay, Cheryl Ash wants you to write out what that was, not just they were rude, but they were rude because they said this, and this.
Mhm. That makes sense.
I,
And in the next summary, I can do that. That does make sense. I think I could add it because as much as I had to sit through and listen to all this, I'll make sure that we can build it up a little bit more. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that seems to be at least there seems to be a desire to, know what's on the complainant's mind with clarity. And since I said that, I'm bringing it up again that there is a huge reliance on the director and the investigator in the future. Huge reliance. The chair will bring this to a vote. The outcome was unfounded. The review office agrees. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, it's a typo there. It should have been not sustained. I'm so sorry.
The outcome is not sustained and the review office agrees. So now, do we agree or disagree? Member Vice Chair?
Joseph Adams.
Agree.
Disagree.
Miss Kelly Johnson.
Agree.
Ms. Luella Webster,
Agree.
Ms. Cheryl Ash,
Disagree. Disagree.
Coleman Thomas, disagree. Donna McMahon,
I agree.
Counselor, you will report back to the board um, on next meeting with your final resolve in instances like this. Director, you have the floor.
Okay. We're gonna move to, so that one's neither agree or disagree. Okay. CPRB 1022 is our next case. And it was the complainant alleged use of force and property handling. The complaint date was October 2024. Location was South Bend, Indiana. South Bend Police Department outcome is exonerated. Okay. All right. So the allegation summary: the complainant involved the officer's use of force during vehicle. The complaint involved the officer's use of force during vehicle impoundment and concerns over the medical conditions being ignored. Okay, the investigative findings. Footage showed that the complainant re-entered a vehicle after the officer informed the complainant that the vehicle would be towed. The officer never told the complainant to re-enter the vehicle. As the complainant ran around the car, entering into it, the officer removed the complainant physically and restrained the complainant. Medical care was offered. Officers followed procedural and legal steps before towing. The amount of force used was appropriate. The complainant alerted the officer of the inclination to seize, and the officer responded with concern and adjusted the complainant's position to prevent a potential seizure. The relevant policies, South Bend Police Department policies, are use of force, which is policy 300. Policy 306, which is medical aid, and policy 502, which is vehicle towing. The evidence reviewed was the South Bend Police Department body-worn camera footage, the complainant's statement, and this one also included real-time crime center video footage. And my summary statement is at the end of that. But the South Bend Police Department, again, is exonerated. Their outcome is exonerated.
Members have the floor.
What is the towing policy?
The officers must conduct, they have to notify the driver. I'm gonna just,
Was
you
the
know,
person who's making the complaint the owner of the car?
yes,
Okay, so the person making the claim owns the car. Did the complainant say what he wanted out of the car?
no. The complainant didn't say anything. Once the officer told the complainant that the car was gonna be towed, there was some back and forth conversations between people there at the scene. And then the complainant,
Back and forth conversation.
somebody was saying, hurry, get in the car. And then you have people saying all different phrases around cussing and screaming.
Heather, trying to understand if the officer said something to this effect. Well, we're towing your car and the policy is you can't take anything out of the car. Did the officer tell him it's the policy? That's what because that's what it sounds like, that the policy is when your car is towed, you can't take anything out of it.
So the police officer uses discretion in a situation like this. So the complainant could have asked the officer, can I get something out? But they didn't. So once they realized the car was going to be towed, the complainant ran around the car and tried to get in.
Did the officer ask him, what is it you want out of the car when he ran around?
No. No.
Well, I mean, I've been in wrecks, I've been told, and I can tell you, first thing I make sure I have is my inhaler,
Hmm.
okay? You know, and I've had officers who said basically, is there anything you need out, you must have out of the car?
Hmm.
And I say, the keys to get in my house and my inhaler. So that's what I'm trying to understand. When the car was being towed, and when we mean towed, were they actually pulling it off?
No, they were getting ready though to connect to the
Say-
tow
say it
truck.
again.
No, but they were getting ready to connect it to a tow truck.
Okay, so it was connected to the tow truck and it's
Yeah.
getting ready to go off.
Yeah, they were getting ready to pull it up
And the man ran around to the other side, opened the door,
and got in.
and got in.
Hmm.
Okay.
And the comments on the outside where people were saying, lock the doors.
Right.
So,
The people
you
weren't
know.
being helpful, I understand.
Yeah, they weren't being too helpful. But the complainant could have asked the officer, can I get my stuff out of the car? And it would have been that officer's discretion then to say yes or no. But legally, that officer does have discretion to control that situation. Because she could have been getting in the car to get a gun. She could have
Right,
gotten in the
right.
car to,
I
you know,
understand.
to,
Or he could be reaching for the car keys to get in the house.
yeah, anything.
Or he could have asthma and need his inhaler.
Inhaler, yep.
Or he said he had seizures. He
Yeah.
could have had a bottle that he
Yes.
keeps with him in the glove compartment. Did the officer ever say, what is it you want out of the car?
The officer didn't have an opportunity because the person didn't ask if they could get some out the car. They just went and jumped in the
And
car.
Why was it just the person's responsibility to ask? Why
Uh,
wasn't some of it also on the officer to say, as a man sitting in the car, okay,
Mhm.
tell the tow truck guy, don't go. And then say, sir, you have to come out of the car. What is it you think you need out of this car?
Right.
So I think some of this that the officer could have done a little better.
I can see that perspective. Let me put you in the mood of this situation. Everybody's yelling and cussing at each other. People are angry because their car is getting towed.
Right,
And they're actually parked in a spot where they can't park.
right.
So now there is added stress to this situation. And the person that is talking to the person is trying to be calm and the complaining and trying to make things, diffuse things. We have to tow the car, you know, that type of thing. No, you can't drive away in this car, that type, because complaining asked a couple times, can I just drive off? I'll just drive off, let me go. And the answer was no. So when the answer was no, that you couldn't do that, the next thing I would have done logically was said, can I get my stuff out the car at least, please? But that wasn't it. Yeah, that conversation didn't happen.
So the complainant got pretty much ran around, got in the car after the people there said, get in the car, get in the car.
Right. Yeah.
Up until that point, was he being
He was
in
being
compliance with
yeah.
the officer?
very, very compliant. Even after he had to, the officer had to, I got to stop saying that he and she, because I don't,
Yeah.
even after the officer arrested this person and detained them, it was still done with care. And the complainant said, hey, I have the potential to seize. So if you put me this way, I'll be okay. And the officer did comply with that. But there are a lot of nuances here that leaves it to officer's discretion. And this is one where the officer has the, you know, they're in control of this situation. So I would have asked some questions if it was me. I would have asked to get in my car. I would have asked to get whatever I needed to get out my car. And I'm right. You're right, Miss Cheryl. Maybe the officer could have been forward thinking enough to say, hey, Do you need anything out of the car?
There seems to be something missing.
Question. Policy 306, did the officer call for medical?
Yes, yes. They asked the complainant if she wanted medical aid, and that was offered. Yes.
Okay, because it's not, it didn't say that, they called, it just says in the report that the officer positioned to prevent a potential seizure. Well, you cannot position anybody in any certain position to prevent a seizure. A seizure is something that goes on in the brain.
Mhm.
And I know this because I have family members I've dealt with all my life. And it don't say in there that that the officer, he or she, called. All it says is that they positioned them.
Yeah, they did offer medical aid. In my summary statement, officers informed the complainant ensure proper rights and health and safety. Yeah, they did offer medical aid.
But what was the ambulance called for that person? Is what I want.
Now,
That's what I consider a
it
medical
was
aid.
it was offered to the complainant. The complainant doesn't have to take it. And because the complainant was saying that if you position me this way, I'll be okay, they did so. They did
So-
that.
So there's no police policy that the officer can or cannot let them get something out of their car?
It is the way it's written in the policy manual is it is the officer's discretion. Because if the officer feels threatened or if they see something that's going to be a threat to their current situation, they can control that and say, no, you cannot get in the car. They may even allow, depending on the officer, they may say, hey, you know what? Let me get it out for you, or whatever the case may be. But that wasn't an option because she ran around and got in.
Point of order, the chair needs to take a quick break, Madam Vice Chair. You assume
How long?
charge of the meeting. You assume charge of the meeting. Got it.
I just like to see them handle when they tow cars.
What would you suggest? I'm not, but this is a good thing to do because this board would make recommendations and suggestions. So as you guys are putting your thinking caps on, say you see this 3 times down the road, at that point, we need the CPRB to say, here's our recommendation to the police department.
So I think we should make a recommendation when they tow a car, right? And that part of what they need to say is there anything out of the car that you must have?
Mhm.
And that gives the opportunity to say, I need my inhaler, I need my heart medicine, I need my keys, I need my phone. Because not everybody keeps, if I get out of the car, am I gonna have my purse? No, because my purse is thrown in the back seat. It lands on the floor. Half the time the stuff comes out on the floor, okay? And so that would be the first thing I'd be saying is, well, I need my inhaler and I need my purse with the keys and a phone to call somebody to come pick me up. So I recommend that. I don't know how the rest of you feel, but I recommend that one of the things the police say when they tow is there anything you must have in the car? And
So-
then they can decide how they're, depending on what it is. If it's medicine and a phone or things like that, then they can figure out how they're going to get the stuff out of the car.
So if, so if the person was drunk and this happened and they didn't ask, once that car gets to impoundment, wherever it's been taken to the police department or to a towing company, the next day, are they allowed to go to that place and say, hey, I need to get this out of my car? Or they're not able to do it at that point?
You know, I don't know what the tow companies can do as far as letting people get in and out. I'm sure they have to prove that the vehicle's theirs.
Mhm.
But I know that the tow companies too, they're very strong. They're sticklers on paying that fee
Right.
to get it out. So I guess it would all depend on the towing company if they would let you get
Take
in.
something out of it.
Well, I've taken people who had their car towed
Yeah,
and some companies will let them get certain things out and some won't even let them get out medicine.
that's true. Yeah, it depends on the towing company.
Point of
wanted
order,
to say that-
Chair's point of order, Chair's return.
Okay. I wanted to say this too, that in most of these investigations, that the internal affairs calls the complainant and asks them to come see the video. Because maybe the night of the event, man, I can't believe they did that. But then when you actually watch the video, tones can change, behaviors kind of, are different. So I've noticed that since I've been in this role that sometimes you think something happened a certain way, but when you actually watch the video, it's a little different. And I know the police department probably was sad when they had to wear body cameras and all these cameras everywhere, but it is so necessary to have it for situations like this.
You know, said we can make pastor said we can make recommendations. And later on, I'm going to propose that we make the recommendation that police, when they're towing a car, if the person who they're towing the car doesn't say, I need this or that out of the car, they asked. Because, you could have been in a wreck. There could be a lot of things, his car could have been towed because he didn't have a driver's license. I've had to pick up people who didn't have driver's licenses. That's why their car was towed. And they're all excited and everything. But I just think if the police have as one of their things they do is to simply say, is there anything out of the car you must have?
I think that's one of the issues. For what reason was this car being towed?
It was parked in a space that you couldn't park in.
Is that
Yeah.
private space or is that a public space?
It was a public space with a sign that said, it identified it as a space that you couldn't park during the time the car was parked there.
And this was not a part of the complaint, but was towing the correct option or was warning sticker or something?
And I think that is also at the police discretion too, because there may be other factors that are not privy to my office why they towed. They have a legal right to tow though. They have a legal right to tow.
Okay. What was the use of force? I'm looking it up here.
Yeah.
Use of force property
Yep.
handling. So what was the use of force?
And that was the arrest.
But
That's what, yeah.
in my younger years, I've been arrested, but it wasn't any force.
Yeah.
So what was the use of force?
And that was part of this complaint was that when the complainant ran around to get in the car, that they were removed from the car. And that was the policeman's legal right at that point to do that because he doesn't know what she was getting in or the complainant was getting in the car for.
So, but when did they take him by the feet and drag him out? Did they grab his arms and just pull him out? Did he end up on the ground at any time, or what kind of force? I need a little more.
Yeah, this was a standard arrest. I've seen a lot of arrests since I've been in this role now. It was nothing done outside of the norm when somebody runs away from an officer and the officer catches them and arrests them and restrains them with handcuffs. Yeah.
See, I don't know what a normal arrest is for South Bend.
Yeah. Put it this way, there was no physical harm done. There was no excessive force. The energy was matched. So the person ran, the officer ran. The
Right.
officer grabbed the person and handcuffed that person.
So how did the officer take him out of the car? By the arms?
Same thing, by the arms. They use that standard arm procedure when they're grabbing people out of a car.
Okay, that would be a help if I saw what that, maybe that's one of the things in our training we need.
Yes.
Because I don't know when you say standard way they arrest.
Yeah, if there was a chokehold or if there was a elbow or something, if something was done that was out the norm, I would identify that and make sure you all were aware of that.
Yeah, but remember, we don't know what the norm is.
Yeah, and I can help bring that out in our next summaries, because like I said, we have 3 for 2025 now.
So once the officer said, was getting ready to make the arrest, did the complainant at any point try to talk to the officer? Like,
There was a lot of communication. It was not good communication. So it wasn't the communication to de-escalate. It actually was communication that potentially could have escalated it.
What did the complainant actually say?
I could not say that.
Well, I have to know. to
Um,
make the
put it
decision.
this way: there were quite a few expletives used, and there was quite a few angry tones that were used to express dissatisfaction with being
Okay,
arrested.
so basically he cussed.
Yeah, quite a
Okay.
bit.
You can put that in the report if you don't want to put the words.
Yeah.
But, and was it one cuss word or was it rah, and rah?
I stopped
So-
counting after about 25.
Okay, that's fine. That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know. There's a difference between one word and 10 words.
so when the officer did go to make this something that he was going to impound the car, his demeanor was appropriate.
This officer went well beyond what I probably would have done as a preacher. So I mean, he was very adequately working with this complainant.
So what we're missing, I believe that what we're missing is what led to this. We want to make a habit. I'm going to keep repeating this until all the members can say it without me. If a comment is made to this board, it needs to be backed up with the specific rules and regulations. So if they have the right to tow, why? Is it because council gave them that right, or is it because the state gave them that right? Specifically where? This is how we're going to do our job. We understand that once the officer got involved, the officer is abiding by rules and procedures for how they are to conduct business. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we agree with those rules and procedures. And council has asked us to make a list. And so we have to keep that in mind.
So that policy for towing is listed in this complaint, policy 502.
The property handling, I'm taking that is the towing of the car?
Say that again. I'm so sorry.
Okay, use of force is how they took him out of the car, right?
Yeah, that was the.
Okay, now what is property handling? Is it because he was towed? Is because he couldn't get something he wanted in the car? What's that one?
It was because of the tow.
Okay.
So, Director, yeah, this, I do see this as a policy, but we're specifically talking about the sign per se that indicated the area that that car could not be in, and what authority was at play at that time. What invited the officer? What specifically invited the officer? And then once the officer got there, um, you know, what rules and regulations were he following once he got there that led to all of this in the first place? Even though the specific complaint was, I don't like how they handled me.
Mhm.
You know, my question is why were they handling you? You made a comment that I just want to bring attention to. May not have known why he was getting in the car. Maybe it's because it was his. So we have to rule that out. I mean, that's why I would get in the car. Maybe because it was about to get towed. So that's understandable. It's also understandable that the officer will remove them. But why is it understandable and understandable? Well, so that the tow could happen. If the officer has discretion, if the tow was not already hooked up, was the officer bound to remove them? Because once you call the tow truck and the tow truck is within 15 feet of the car, you have to carry it through. You know,
Yeah.
I need to know stuff like this.
And my counsel is wise in providing this information for me to think this through too. In our next phase of this, we'll have this, but we'll create a cheat sheet with a lot of this information on it. So you'll have it up front with the ordinances and things like that of the cases, both local and state laws. That way you'll have more instead of just the South Bend Police Department policy. I can, being the first time, I can see where I can adjust that. Yeah.
And I think
Does
that's why,
anyone-
it's go ahead.
I'm sorry.
I
was
think
being
that's why
curious.
I'm asking so many pointed questions, is so when we do the next set, you know, you'll have in things like when he took him out of the car, you'll say he took him out of the car by holding his arms, or he picked him up under his arms, or, you know, whatever.
Mhm.
And,
I would even like to know if the officer asked the gentleman, why did you park there?
Mm.
Why did you park there? I mean,
Mhm.
is this an emergency? Is it, you know, for what reason would you park in a no parking zone?
And that would only matter, right, if the officer had discretion.
Mhm.
Because asking why you parked there means nothing if I have to tow you. But if I have to tow you, then show me the law that says I have to tow you.
And
If
that's
I had discretion, then show me that law.
Mhm.
but you made a point. Was the car already hooked up? Okay, I guess what I'm saying is, at what point did the car get hooked up? Was the man not there when they hooked it up and he comes running because he sees it?
Uh,
Or was he standing there?
mhm. The complainant and the officer were both talking by the car before it even got hooked up to get towed. So as that's progressing, things escalated.
The man shows up
Yeah,
as there's hooking it up.
yeah, that
Okay.
setting it up to get towed.
Okay.
They cannot tow the car. That could have been a reason why he was trying to get back into his car, so his
Okay.
car did not get towed.
Okay, gotcha.
Right.
And
So what do we do, counselor? And then we're going to go ahead and take a vote on this. But what do we do in situations where there is a complaint, there's an investigation, but it seems to me that the complaint was wrong. I- It, it seems to me that the complaint could have been the officer told my car. And I don't mean to laugh, but I know that that's heartbreaking in this economy.
Well, I'm not suggesting this is the ideal outcome. Hypothetically, vote to disagree only to then reach a conclusion that says that this was just unfounded or it wasn't a complaint that even on its face is something we should review. But I think you're limited in what's brought to you. I mean, I think that I would suspect judges in criminal courts or civil courts probably often wish the case before them was different than it actually is, but they're limited in making the decisions what's before them. So I think the answer to give you to that is we are judging what's been presented to us, which is what the complaining party presented to the review office and internal affairs. So we're limited in our role. It's reviewing what's before us. But I do think that Cheryl Ash, Ms. Ash, you've suggested a different route for this board to go. We view our main job as disposing of these complaints. But the ordinance also says one of our duties is to make policy recommendations, which would not be something we would do at the time we're voting agree or disagree. But reviewing a complaint like this and having the discussion we're having can lead to policy recommendations. So maybe the best outcome of a complaint like this, Dr. Adams, is if the merits of the complaint are not what any of us think maybe the best version of this complaint would have been, it does generate discussion, which allows us to do one of our co-equally important functions, which is make policy recommendations. So on one hand, the answer is we're voting on what's in front of us. We can't go outside the four walls of the complaint in front of us. But a more deeper answer to give you is it has been used tonight as a vehicle for generating a discussion. And we have been asked by the Common Council, in addition to reviewing its complaints, to recommending policy changes. But maybe something like this, whether it's we agree that this officer should be exonerated or not, maybe what this really does is generate a bigger discussion about policy changes.
I just had one quick question. Where was the car when it was being towed?
It was parked on the side, on a curb.
No,
side
but
of
what
the
I
street.
mean is,
Location.
what was it in front of?
It was almost in front of the sign.
It was almost in front of what?
It was nearly in front of the sign.
I couldn't hear you.
It was nearly in front of the sign.
Yeah.
No, I meant, no, building wise.
Oh,
Was
building.
it in front of a bank ATM? Was it in front of,
It was,
uh,
it was a mixed situation. So it was residential and commercial.
okay, so it wasn't in front of anything, okay, fine.
No.
All right. So
I'm ready.
before we proceed, the chair would like to issue an apology for my laughing. This situation is stirring up emotions and I've just chose to laugh it away. And I believe that that was inappropriate. And I want you to know that any and all complaints will be taken very seriously. So please forgive me. With that being said, we will now have an agree or disagree vote.
Joseph Adams.
So go.
You want a little more time to think and we come back to you?
No, I'm going to do this. Disagree.
Kelly Johnson.
I would agree.
Luella Webster.
Agree.
Cheryl Ash.
Agree.
Donna McMahon.
Disagree.
Dominique Thomas. Abstain.
There we have it. So, council, it's your understanding that we have, essentially what, 3 more of these before we move into, 2025 cases or the updated cases?
Hate to disagree, Dr. Adams, but I think those were all of the complaints for us to review tonight.
Oh, I'm just talking about total. I'm talking about total.
Well, it's my understanding that there are presently 3 complaints filed in the calendar year 2025. And that those are under review. But with this, you have concluded all of the 2024 complaints.
I have a couple questions.
That was it?
If you're looking at the summaries provided by Pastor King,
Yeah.
you will see that the remaining summaries are complaints that were withdrawn by the complaining party. So we have nothing there to review.
But I do have questions.
I'm gonna recognize you in a moment. Member
So
Farrell.
the 3 that you've asked about are current calendar year complaints that are under review. I use the number 15 because of the 16 identified case numbers. 2 were duplicates. So you have gone through all of the complaints that were still active and ready, or where an investigation was concluded and it was ready for this board's review. You've done all of them that were the ones that were filed before we had a board ready to review them. So I say that with a great deal of pride because you have resolved in under 2 hours a year's worth of citizen complaints.
Uh,
I suppose with the commentary that 2 of the complaints we reviewed did not reach a final disposition, which requires some review on my part before I can give you better direction. However, of all the ones that were brought to you by Pastor King, you've reviewed them all this evening. You've reached final dispositions on 1014 and 1016, 1019 and 1022. Because of the split in the vote, there was not a final disposition.
or you will get back to us.
That is, yes, President Adams, that's correct. But that you have in this meeting reviewed everything that had been waiting for this board to review.
I'm gonna recognize Member Cheryl and then we'll move to comments.
2 questions. I noticed the numbering is not consecutive. You know what I mean? It's 101. Is there any reason it's not consecutive?
Well, sometimes with the review office, if a case escalates up higher than one that I'm working on because of let's say use of force, I may have to shift that one up and move another one down.
Okay.
So those numbers are never going to be consistent. I'm so sorry about that. I wish it was.
I'm just curious.
Yep. And if the board so desires, I could list them a different way. We're still in that phase. I can adjust that.
So say 1011, it's not a case or anything yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
My other thing that I would like to know is, even when people withdraw the complaint,
Mhm.
okay, do you at least, someone can withdraw a complaint, but it may have some policy things to it. Do you ever look at like the video or anything on those complaints withdrawn? Especially if they're complaining about officer conduct.
I could get to that place before they withdraw and still see video footage and that information is provided, but it doesn't always happen. And the legal stance with this being a citizen unless they sign a waiver to agree that I can disclose their information, I legally can't disclose their information.
I'm not talking about so much disclose. Let's say, for instance, you review the tape
Mhm.
and even you think the officer's been rude or whatever. I'm not saying that, it goes up to internal fair or wherever it goes, but maybe you notice, oh, I think the officer, I've noticed this, that sometimes some officers do this, this, and this. And
Yeah.
I'm like, we're making the recommendation that they say to the person when they tow the car, is there anything in the car you must have? And I didn't say need, I said must have. And I just think if you review, particularly ones that deal with officer conduct,
Mhm. That's a
and,
good point.
you might see them and saying, I think the officers might phrase it this way or that way, because maybe they're dealing with no disrespect, maybe there's certain words you can use
Mhm.
that would bother someone,
Right.
and the officer might not know that.
I will take that in consideration with the next series of complaints because I can see the reason why you would ask that. Yeah. Maybe somebody withdrew a case because they were scared, you know. And I would want to make sure you all would know that. I got it.
All right, all are settled. I'm going to yield to the counselor to have a few comments and then open us up for public comment.
The board legal training session tonight, I was going to opine on the concept of preponderance of the evidence, but we had that discussion before we began our deliberations. I don't think it's necessary to say anything further. It's if it, in a practical sense, you got what that this is more likely true than not, or more likely untrue than. However, you use, whatever aphorism you use, 51, 49, greater weight of the evidence, more likely than not. That's what that standard means. We had discussed this at a previous meeting that I would, during this session, discuss the preponderance of evidence, but we were able to advance that to an earlier part of the meeting, so I leave my comments there, President Adams.
Are there any, I think we're looking at the sign up for public comment, both in person and online. How does that work online? Was there a sign up? Did anybody say they wanted to? Nobody said it. Thank you, council. The quarterly report.
We find it.
It's right here.
Okay. There was nobody that signed up for in-person comments.
Well, I am going to, instead of suspending the rules, I'm just going to give the floor back to the director for final comments.
And I'm going to make this very quick because I know we've been here for a while. So this is my quarterly report. I provided it to the board and I've also submitted it to the Common Council. But I want you all to see this and note that this is part of my duties to provide this every quarter. So this is the quarterly update. And I want to say thank you to those of you that have been able to come out and support the community initiatives and things like that. I'm trying to get lined up with the Black Expo and other groups and agencies around town, including La Casa de Amistad. So there's some other stuff that'll be coming in the next quarter, but I just wanted to make sure that you all had this.
I was gonna ask you if you could figure out a way to hit the Hispanic population and not tonight, but I would like for you to kind of figure out how you're going to handle undocumented people.
Mhm.
I mean, if we have an undocumented person who's brave enough in this climate to make a complaint, um, how is that gonna work?
Mm,
You know what I mean? They come to you with a complaint,
right.
you know, I know you forwarded on to the police
Yeah.
and but maybe you and the police department can have a talk about how you're gonna handle undocumented people.
Yes.
Because they may have complaints
Mhm.
and you shouldn't have to be a citizen.
You have new cases for us in 2 weeks from now?
I can. Yeah, I can
Okay.
have those prepared. Now, that is a good point, though. I wouldn't know if they were undocumented because if they file a complaint, I'm gonna follow it all the way to the end, even if they are. So that's a good point of to kind of bring up. I'll stick with it even if they are undocumented.
Attorney, can you maybe work with him on that? You know, so that, I mean, I've been reading things about how they're coming to, trying to get information about undocumented places through hospitals. You know what I'm saying? And so you can maybe help figure out how do we encourage the Hispanic community to come up with complaints when many of them are afraid that they will get deported, even if they're still a US citizen, they're still deporting US citizens.
May I acknowledge Sandra Kennedy, Corporation Counsel?
So the city of South Bend does not ask for their papers for their birth certificate.
Okay.
When they file a complaint with this uh, community police review office, he doesn't ask for their driver's license. He just takes, I don't believe you do. So he takes their information. It's much the same with a lot of our other offices. So we would not know if they were undocumented. And we're not going to ask.
Mhm. Okay.
Thank you.
Even
That
that
was my,
information should,
my working understanding is that there's no, that information is not solicited from either the review office or this
Okay.
board. If it's volunteered, perhaps there's something that we can do to, ensure that that person still receives due process whilst in this country. But it's not information that is even necessary to complete a citizen.
'Cause I think the only time it might come out is if the person is complaining that they felt they were treated the way they were treated because they were Hispanic, or because it becomes obvious when they don't have certain documents like state ID or social security card that they might be undocumented. But, okay.
well, maybe that's good information to put on our publications and our social media and everything else.
We don't really want to draw too much attention to that.
Okay.
So, but that's how we normally operate. Um, eh, Pastor King's gonna look at every person's complaint without regard to their race or ethnicity or gender or anything. And if there are concerns about they were treated differently because of the color of their skin, there are still avenues in the courts. So there would still be an avenue in the court for somebody who believes that they were mistreated because they're Hispanic.
Or what about mistreated because they're undocumented?
Police are not going to ask them if they're documented or undocumented. We
But
just
they
don't.
can, I had an incident where my car was hit by an undocumented person. And the police officer who came couldn't speak Spanish. So they sent for one. And the officer said to me, well, they're going to try to work something out. Cause I said, well, what's his license? What's his insurance company name? Do you have his driver's license? And it came out, he didn't have a driver's license because he was undocumented. And the officer knew that because the officer told me.
So usually we only go further into it if there is a warrant for that person's arrest, a warrant issued by a judge.
Okay.
So when we're talking about federal immigration laws, there has to be some sort of judicial order or an order from ICE. So just the mere fact that they're undocumented is not going to cause police to then, report them.
So when you're
necessarily.
taking, let's say, a car accident report, you won't know this, but I sure would like to know it. When you're taking a car accident report, in that report, does it ever say if the person is undocumented or not?
They usually ask for their driver's license. They
And the
might
person
say
doesn't
there's
have it.
no driver's license
So they don't
available.
have it.
Right. And if there's no insurance, they'll
They don't have
list
it.
them as uninsured
Right,
motorists.
they're uninsured. Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
all right. Clearing all minds and hearts. I'm going to motion for we're going to be back in 2 weeks from,
We can't see on our screens in this, if anybody online has signed in to make a public comment.
I asked them.
Yeah.
One comment that just came in.
Oh, okay. Let's see, I saw it come through, but I can't see it here. Okay. And this is from Internal Affairs. It was just saying that the complaint form is in English and in Spanish, and everything on the city website, including the CPRB portion of it, is in most languages. So we do have it covered.
Thank you for that.
Sorry to interrupt.
So we'll be back in 2 weeks. There's not going to be a lot going on. I imagine we'll be able to get in and out in an hour. Yeah. All right. There is a motion for adjournment. There is a second. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say no. The ayes have it. We are adjourned.